that they don't want more Muslims coming in this country. And if they back Israel, if they back Israel, those Palestinians that are false claims.
Majority of the European people, you
don't
know.
You can't make a generalization.
Listen, European people. Yes, I can. So I'm European.
No, it doesn't make a difference. You're individual.
European people
you can't make generalizations.
European people do not want to see Islamic influence in Europe.
Whenever there is financial difficulties for the ordinary person, then the person is ripe for a certain type of exploitation. And the exploitation is always what happens is that the politicians who are responsible for the mess that the country is in financially don't want to take on the blame themselves. So what they do is they tell you, oh, it's that brown guy. If the young person starts to pray, they might be being radicalized. If the woman starts to cover her hair, she might be being radicalized.
If they talk about political things in school, about Iraq or Afghanistan, that we shouldn't be bombing them, that can become a reason for
If you say the reason the wars are happening are foreign policy based, they will come.
If ever ADL or something would try to want to attack you, I would take your side to protect you from them.
No, that's
I'm just letting you know. Okay? Now, two different things. We're discussing what's the general mood, and I can understand, and I told you, I sympathize many times with people who are brought here, sometimes even against their will. Like what happens in the border of Belarus and Poland, when they're being imported over there just to cause havoc and chaos. They never wanted to go to Belarus, but they were offered a trip there so they can cause situation on the border with the EU. So I sympathize with these people, and those people are just victims. I don't see them as perpetrators. I don't see them as a threat. They're entirely victims, and that's how I view them. And I do believe that any person who escapes persecution or because wherever they live, their life is threatened, they should be most welcome here, anywhere in Europe, and that's my view. But that doesn't change.
But this is the thing, the view that you're giving now, is separate from what you were saying last time.
Not quite.
The last time that you were saying, you were making a claim for all of the people of Europe. You're saying that the people of Europe have had enough of specifically, you made it specifically Islamic, you said immigration.
That is correct. And I tell you why, because it's good to be, I agree, and here's why. It's good to be a careful observer. Look what happened in Holland. Look what happened in France. Look what happened in Italy. Look what's going on in Germany with AFD. Why is it, if I would be wrong, and the only thing I was doing was observation, doesn't mean I identify with it. I'm just making a statement because the reason why the French president was all getting frantic and trying to unite with the far left so Le Pen cannot go into power, because they were freaking out, see that generally the mood of a majority of population changing quite fast. And it's not that Europeans are racist. They're the same. They have the same level of racism like the Muslim people, the Jewish people, and everyone else. There's no difference, because I don't believe that is exclusive. The racism belongs exclusively to one group of people. The black people are also racist as well. So we cannot say, oh, it's a European thing. Nevertheless, we have to look at the barometer of the mood by the results of the election across Europe. And then you see why is it that Denmark was a perfect example of people in Denmark, right next to Germany, being perfectly comfortable with the Dutch government. Let me just say why. It's because their immigration is very strict. They really check who's coming and who's not. So things are they opted out from the common immigration policies, and they keep everything in such a way that the Danish population is satisfied with the performance. So my question, I wasn't anti-Islamic or anti-racist, whatever. It was just an observation that it was happening.
So the claim that this is the claim that the people of Europe, I don't agree with this. I disagree with this because you're making a claim about the whole population. And
you're naming countries.
Yeah, you're naming countries. Elections are are samples where a small group of the population vote. There's no requirement to vote within this country, for example. So in the last election, only 30% of the people voted.
Okay, fair enough.
And so even that victory is not representative of the actual country.
Yeah.
So to make claims based upon elections is inaccurate. The second thing is that there's a reason behind why immigration is to become the bogeyman. And I don't disagree with the reasoning that people are looking around and they're seeing immigration and they're seeing different faces and different cultures and they're finding it difficult. But this was not always the case, and something different is happening. And history teaches us why this happens. Whenever there is financial difficulties for the ordinary person, then the person is ripe for a certain type of exploitation. And the exploitation is always what happens is that the politicians who are responsible for the mess that the country is in financially don't want to take on the blame themselves. So what they do is they tell you, oh, it's that brown guy. The reason you don't have a BMW is because this brown guy is here. He's taking your job. This strange claim that they're taking your job. Now,
I heard you. Do you mind if I respond?
Sure, no problem. No, let me just finish my text.
Yeah.
So these people, they exploit the feelings of the people.
You're right.
Of dissatisfaction with their lives.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And what they do is that they make the reasons by controlling media, etc. They manufacture a narrative, and that narrative is not the reality.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you on this one. Now hear me out. You see, you mentioned history. When Hitler came to power, he only had 1/3 of votes.
Yeah.
And he didn't manage, because coming to power, became a dictator. It caused so much havoc and destruction across Europe. So, this is the reason why I think, from one point of view, it's important to be very aware of the political situation.
Yeah.
So my point, it wasn't against yourself or other Muslim people, by no means. Ask this fellow when I had a conversation with him if they had any bad feelings to each other. By no means. It's the finest person I had a conversation with today. Nothing personal, but one has to be careful observer. In this country, if you ask me, and maybe I don't know how often you go out of area of London. I'm 25, but in many places you can see that the mood is very sour. Okay, people are very unhappy, and you're right. They're always going to find somebody to blame on, never themselves.
They're pointed towards somebody.
Yes, of course, I agree with you.
But also, is that organic, or is that something that's been created?
Yeah, I agree. It is created, and it's always created. So there are always governing forces that are going to make that happen. Yeah, so also threats, there are threats, and so on. But one has to be. The reason why I laughed that time, because you took it as a racist thing, and when you say we look alike, yeah, of course I don't mind saying it. I took it as a compliment. I didn't see it as an insult. Yeah. I took it as a compliment. And what you don't know about me, I spent many years in warm climates. You know, like being California or Hawaii or many warm countries. Of course, I would get permanent different skin color, which I'm very happy about. There was nothing racist about it, and that's something that, from one point of view, so I remember the conversation very well. Actually, I thought, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but you've exposed something, which is the connections, trying to say that being, let's say, having not confrontational, but having one's own stand towards Islam, that means I'm a racist. By no means I'm a racist.
About Islam at all.
I might just let you know, my wife is a woman of color.
Sure.
Okay,
I understand.
and she's probably from regions probably you guys, your background is from. Sure. Okay, so she's Indian.
Sure.
All right. So what I'm saying to you is just like my son is darker than you guys. Okay. So I have no issues with color whatsoever.
So the issue wasn't about color. So,
but you did mention that, just let you know. It was a racist thing.
Yes.
For what reason?
I'll tell you why.
Why?
So, anti-Muslim bigotry, Islamophobia, is the proxy for racism today. So what do I mean by this? There are people who know that if they are anti-black, anti-brown, they will get into trouble. Yeah. So what they do is they use something else, which is a barometer. Because they know the vast majority of Muslims are not white. They know this. Yeah. Okay. So what they do is they know that Islam is not a religion, not a race either.
Exactly.
So what they do is they use these two facts to blur that racism. So they say I can be anti-Islam, I can be Islamophobic, but I'm not racist because Islam is not a race. Now this is like
that's an interesting point of view. I never considered that.
It's a play on words to hide the bigotry and racism.
Okay, fair enough.
So for me, when I see someone who's because what happened, I'll give you an example. In America after 9/11, the first person to be killed was a Sikh man.
A Sikh guy.
On a train, getting off a train.
Yeah.
Not even Muslim guy.
With a turban.
Brown man with a turban on. And they killed, someone shot him.
Yeah.
So there is no even nuance for people when they have this bigotry.
Okay, so you held that view and you thought I have the same view, and I told you. So when I told you actually that because of my kids are mixed race, I told you I don't have shred. I can say comfortably because all my life I never had a shred of racism within me. It just doesn't mean I won't speak my mind. Yeah. If I see something that let's say that it's wrong, I'm going to say it's wrong. Doesn't matter what repercussions are. Yeah? I'm just going to speak my mind.
I hear. That's fine. Yeah. For me, this is going to be controversial. I don't think that just because you have children who are of colour, indemnifies you or inoculates you against racism. I don't think it does.
How is that?
I will explain why that is. Because racism can be specifically at certain people or certain groups. Even within a ethnic minority, there are sub-minorities that people can be racist towards each other. So, for example, in Asian community, there are people who are racist to other specific Asians.
Or social classes, untouchables, and so on.
Absolutely. So that doesn't inoculate you. The point I was making is, when people make this, there's a danger in making this claim that all Europeans have this, or the vast majority have this perspective, and the danger is you empower those minorities who have the obnoxious views to think that they are mainstream, to think that their views can now be had openly. You empower them to become more vocal, more active, and even physically maybe more active, which is dangerous.
Okay.
So that's why I don't dislike this view, because it empowers the wrong people.
Now, you say something very important. Now, I agree they're minorities.
Do you want some water? Have some water.
Okay, thank you. Now, I agree they're minorities, but hear me out. I'm speaking for myself. Thank you so much. In my view, everybody should have the right to express their views.
Yeah, I agree.
And then let's say they're minorities and they say, oh, I hate black people. Yeah. Let's say they're young and stupid and they say, I hate black people. Yeah. Let them say it. And I'll tell you why. Because if they say they're taking it out, next 20 years, 99% of those people, they're going to say, actually, I like black people. Because when people grow older, they grow smarter. They let go of some imported prejudice that was never part of them. In my view, if you're going to suppress people, no, you're not supposed to say that, no, you're not supposed to say that, like putting people in prison because of the Facebook post.
It's wrong.
It's totally wrong. Let people express themselves and let them come to their own conclusion. Yeah.
You know, one thing, I to some extent I agree with you.
Okay.
There's a very interesting book written by Professor Todd Green.
Go ahead.
It's called Presumed Guilty. And he's a Christian assistant professor. And he wrote this book because this question often is asked to Muslims about condemning things. Do you condemn this? Do you condemn that? So he wrote a very interesting book. We had him on our channel. In that, he's got a very interesting quote from a rabbi.
Go ahead.
Rabbi Herschel. And Rabbi Herschel said, words make worlds.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. In Islam, we have very similar teachings. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, is there anything that topples a man onto his face other than the harvest of his tongue?
Okay.
In other words, what you say is very important because it can shape the environment.
Yes, it is.
And so, though I do agree, when people say we should be allowed to criticize Islam, no problem.
Go ahead.
No problem.
Yeah.
But when the criticism of Islam becomes a propaganda of lies and deception against Islam, this is an abuse, I would say, of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. This is not something to be celebrated, but it is something to be addressed. Why? Because words make worlds.
Okay, now can I reply to it?
Of course.
I traveled the world extensively in my life. I've been to Asia, I've been to India, I've traveled many, by the way, 6 the most amazing people, I mean.
They're very nice.
Good people.
And And there must be the tolerance that we are always growing. We're growing in wisdom and understanding. If I see a young person and does something stupid, we should have, just like towards our own kids, that level of leverage of forgiveness. Dumb and stupid. So be it. But when somebody becomes mature, I get your point. When somebody mature and uses it as an instrument to wind up a machine of hatred, that's totally different. So I agree with you on this one. But nevertheless, on individual level, in my view, the speech should be protected. Free speech should be protected. Now, and here's the challenge: because I've been in so many places, and I had fantastic experiences in the Islamic world wherever I went. And one thing I can deny, and that people are intelligent people. Therefore, any insult should be a challenge for you. Challenge. Not, no, don't say that, this and this. Okay, hold on, you said that. Hold on for a moment. Let's talk. You show them, if Quran is a source of enlightenment, manifest that enlightenment to a fool who hates you for no reason. That's the easiest task ever. Because it's different with the smart ones, the clever ones, who instigate purposely. But let's say the majority of people, they're just normal people. And you have a wonderful chance to show, as I said, that enlightenment within oneself. And that goes much further than any prohibition in speech. Which I think is the worst thing, and this is, and you know what happened with the latest arrest, in my view.
The latest, what?
The latest events with the arrests of people who post things on Facebook. It separated societies. It's separate. So
because of the riots.
Yeah, like the riots, a lady was posted. I never read that crap anyway, personally. I never wrote anything stupid like that either. But nevertheless, I'm aware of it. But now there's this separation. So there's this silent wall between people. If you ask me, that's the worst thing.
What do you mean by separation?
Separation, that let's say, those people who, let's say, are relatives of people who are in prison, because they reposted something stupid, I'm not condoning it. I'm saying right now straightforward. I think it's stupid. But that's as far as I see it, it's stupid. But again, we all have the right to be stupid. It's different when you hurt people. That's totally different. But the stupidity is our right. Then we get smart. But what I'm saying is there's this separation now between societies, and I think that's the worst thing that could happen. Because let's say the relatives of these people, they look probably at any. It could be the nicest Muslim person or any nicest immigrant ever, and there's already this invisible wall. No matter what no matter how good they are, there will never be a connection. And I think that's the biggest failure. And I think if you guys are sincere, now you have to break that invisible wall in a sense to show people, look, we're just like you. Okay, this is who we are.
So the thing is that to a certain extent, I agree with you.
Okay.
The cutoff should be incitement to violence, something like this, where you're inciting people to do physical things to other people.
That's illegal, of course. There's always a line.
I agree. But the problem is that we've had, this has been for over 20 years now, we've had Muslims being imprisoned for expressing opinions. In fact, we have a whole organisation which has been set up to prevent, which polices the thoughts of Muslims and Muslim children. If you say something, so there was a boy in school, and he was writing about his house, and he said, I live in a terrorist house. Terrorist house. He spelled it wrong. You mean terrorist as in between two houses? But he spelled it terrorist.
It's no terrorist.
What happened? They called the police. They called the police. His parents had to prevent were called, and he had to go through this program to make sure he wasn't being radicalized. Now there are thousands of cases like this. Thousands of cases like this, where forget language, thoughts is being policed. In this UK, in the UK, and this is a prevent program. And there's lots of evidence that the whole concept is not true. The idea that they look, what are the signs they look for? If the young person starts to pray, They might be being radicalised. If the woman starts to cover her hair, she's not might be being radicalised.
If they talk about political things in school, about Iraq or Afghanistan, that we shouldn't be bombing them, that can become a reason for
If you say the reason the wars are happening are foreign policy based, they will come. And to the extent that there are even there are mosques, masjids, where the people who are in the imam, they're afraid to speak about current events, because they will be
they lose the charity status.
It's a control mechanism. So we have this idea that, and I agree with you, as long as there's societal calm, speech should be as free as possible.
And Imran, you know the Bradford riots that were a few years ago, where predominantly it was Asians that were rioting, Muslims in Bradford. Their parents often, because the police put photos and stuff, we wanted this person, we want that person, their parents often took them to the police station. And just because they were in that group, whether they'd thrown a stone or not thrown a stone or whatever, some of them received like 12 years and 14 years. Maximum sentences. The rioters that we have that have done the riots now, people were saying two-tier policing because they've been given quite strong sentencing. Those sentences were no comparison to what the Bradford rioters got. Not only that, but they are now freeing people from, you might have seen the stories, early release of prisoners to get those. I mean, it's a shambles. Really.
Now I'd like to say two things, if you don't mind. As I said, my son is quite dark because of from mom's side, his mom's side. And we went to Israel, went to Palestine, Israel. I show in the world, so we travel in the world. And went to Israel as well. And when they saw my son in Jerusalem, in the Jewish quarter, and they saw he was dark, they presumed he was Palestinian. He's half Polish, half Indian. But they presumed he was Palestinian. So there's 3 Jewish kids, much larger than him, want to beat him up. No, listen, no, it's no big deal. Again, you see, I don't see it as a big deal. I did teach my son how to protect himself. So even those boys were bigger, he actually didn't manage them, right? And what's my point? I hold nothing against Jewish people for trying to attack him. I am a realist in the real world. So did my son experience prejudice? That sometimes they will ask me if I'm Syrian, so on. But what I'm saying, so yes, I understand the concept. But
I want to just clarify something that you just said. I don't know that you didn't mean it that way. I don't think it was Jewish or Judaism
Israeli
that
kids
drove Israeli.
The Israeli kids.
It's a nationalistic thing.
But the second thing, because you mentioned Iraq, so I want to show. So you ask me, how is it possible if I'll be racist? Because we spoke about it doesn't mean I'm not racist. After the invasion of Iraq in March 20, 2003.
You don't have to.
No, wait. I want to say something interesting.
You are racist.
No, wait. I want to say something interesting. Because you mentioned about government. This government. So I did expose that that government during the invasion of Iraq, it was a war criminal government. I can say on camera, I'm not afraid. They can knock on my door if they want to. They breached the Geneva Convention, 3 Geneva Conventions that the UK is signatory of. They also breached the International Criminal Court conventions as well.
International law.
There are several conventions that they broke. I made evidence of it. And I filed official complaint to ICC. I have documents if you don't believe me, because I felt what happened to Iraq from and the thing is, the United States, of course, they all have lawyers in the government, so they say withdraw from ICC. So 6 months before invasion, United States withdrew from ICC, but UK remained. So I could not file a complaint against the United States government, but I was still able to file against the British government, which I have. I named all the members of parliament who voted for invasion. Even in their own declaration, it says that they authorize an invasion even if there's, I'm quoting, there's no evidence of weapons of mass destruction. So I gave all this evidence, I provided evidence, I specified which law has been breached, how UK government is in violation, and as I said, I submitted it, of course, I knew very well they would reject it. Of course, they reject it. But this is, I'm showing you, there's nothing to do with anything racist. I saw what that was a heinous crime against people who had absolutely nothing to do.
It's still destroyed.
Yeah, it's a zombie state.
It's a zombie state.
And guess what happens? And this is where I find myself not at odds, but I'm thinking, why is it that the same government that was so quick to prepare the war reparations for Saddam Hussein for the invasion of Kuwait, somehow is in a state of amnesia and didn't want to make any. There's no will of somehow making good for the illegal invasion and start paying war reparations. That was illegal war.
Yeah.
In fact, Chilcot report, the famous Chilcot report, summarized that mistakes were made. Mistakes were made? No, that was a war crime.
Euphemism.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, in my view, things can only get well when people start being responsible for themselves. And I do regret that there's this invisible wall between people right now. And again, I mean no disrespect.
To be honest, you know what?
Race.
We're trying to break that because even in our EFDawah, we advertised a show where we wanted right-wing, even Tommy supporters. We said, you're welcome to come on. We're even prepared to hear your grievances.
Okay.
What is it that you have a problem with Islam, with Muslims? And we kept advertising, not one of them showed
but
up.
that's an intelligent approach.
Do you see what I mean?